If you liked the video, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. Trajann Valoris and Lines of the Emperor. This is another quick video taking a look at why an Adeptus Custodes unit is so good or used so much in a certain detachment. Today we have the Captain General himself, Trajann Valoris. The idea of this video is a quick look at the Lines of the Emperor rules, along with the unit datasheet to figure out why the unit is so popular. I want to focus on the rules that really power up the unit. In all of the GT winning lists I've covered on the channel, Trajann is always attached to Custodian Guard or Custodian Wardens. You can run him solo, but 99% of the time he's with either Custodian Wardens or Custodian Guard. Let's start by taking a look at the datasheet for our Captain General. Trajann Valoris has a movement of 6, toughness of 6, 2-up save with a 4+ invulnerable, 7 wounds, a leadership of 5+, and 2 OC. For his ranged weapons he has the Eagle Scream, 24-inch range, 2 attacks, hitting on a 2+, strength 5, AP 2, damage 3 with the Assault ability. For his melee weapons he has the Watcher's Axe, 6 attacks, hitting on a 2+, strength 10, AP 2, damage 3. For his keywords he has Infantry, Character, Epic Hero, Imperium, and Trajann Valoris. For his abilities he has Martial Kata, Deep Strike, a 5+ Feel No Pain, Captain General, and Moment Shackle. Captain General, while this model is leading a unit, each time a model in this unit makes an attack, you can ignore any and all modifiers to that attack's ballistic skill or weapon skill and or all modifiers to the hit roll. Then we have Moment Shackle. Once per battle at the start of the fight phase, you can select one of the following to take effect until the end of the phase. This model's Watcher's Axe melee weapon has an attack of 12, or this model has a 2+ invulnerable save. I might be the only person, but I've played games where I've forgotten about Trajann's 5+ Feel No Pain, more at the 1st of edition, but it has happened. The other thing I'm constantly surprised by is his ranged weapon. Eagle Scream has 2 attacks at strength 5, AP 2, damage 3. Strength 5 means wounding smaller knights or other toughness 6 to toughness 9 targets on a 5+. Lines of the Emperor can bring this up to a 4+. Guardian Spear shots are AP 1, damage 2, wounding those same toughness 9 armigers on a 6+. Don't forget about Trajann's better gun. For the melee attacks, the Watcher's Axe is actually not that much better than the Blade Champion's or even Valerian's melee weapon. 6 attacks hitting on a 2+, strength 10, AP 2, damage 3. It is the strength 10 and AP 2 that makes him not as strong as he could be. Nothing fancy like devastating wounds or sustained hits 2, just a plain old axe that hits kinda hard. This is where one of Trajann's abilities comes into play. That ability is Moment Shackle. This will double the amount of attacks with the Watcher's Axe. 12 attacks with the Watcher's Axe is a real threat into most units in the game. The army rule can give us sustained hits 1 or lethal hits. With sustained hits 1, we could end up with 12+ attacks. We could also give Trajann's model the 2+ invulnerable. The downside is we can only use this once per game. Lines of the Emperor being able to reset this ability once per game is the #1 reason we see Trajann in the Lines of the Emperor. His other ability, Captain General, this ability is very underwhelming for the Captain General of the Adeptus Custodes. Besides Guilliman and the Lion, he is supposed to be the best combatant in the Imperium. Ignoring negative hit and ballistic and weapon skill modifiers does not seem like something Trajann Valoris should be giving to his unit. It used to be ignore all negative modifiers in the index before our codex was released. The Captain General does help against factions such as the Death Guard, who can throw a lot of -1 to hit on our units. Captain General is not the reason we see Trajann being used in the Lines of the Emperor detachment. Let's talk about Trajann Valoris with the Custodian Wardens. Most of us know about the Wardens by now in 10th edition, much harder to kill than the Custodian Guard. In one phase they are a nightmare to take out. The Wardens have been in almost every Adeptus Custodes competitive list since the start of 10th edition. The Codex did not change that. The Custodian Wardens have the Guardian Spear and the Martial Kata ability. They can equip the Castellan Axe, but 99% of the time we take the Guardian Spears with the Wardens, and they still hit very hard. They are more expensive than the Custodian Guard. For a 5 model unit it is 60 points more. The Custodian Wardens give Trajann more survivability with less damage. Like the Custodian Guard, the abilities are what make the difference between these units. Resolute Will, -1 to the wound is the ability for damage reduction. It helps keep Trajann alive longer on the table, cutting heads off with the Watcher's Axe. The other ability, Living Fortress, -1 to the wound roll is nice, combined with 4+ Feel No Pain is even better. Only for one phase, but it makes these so much harder to kill. Trajann also adds damage to the Wardens, helping them take on large, dangerous units. Next, we will take a look at the other unit Trajann can join, the Custodian Guard. The Custodian Guard attached to Trajann will create a much more damage-focused unit. They have the same Guardian Spear weapon profile, 5 attacks, hitting on a 2+, Strength 7, AP 2, Damage 2. We can equip 1 sword, shield, and vexilla to bring the total OC per model from 2 to 3. Also gaining an extra wound from 3 to 4, we do lose 1 spear doing so. 90% of the time I see this unit, it is with 1 vexilla. The shield will add an extra wound to the model, and that does help against those damage 3 attacks. It is the Custodian Guard abilities that turn this into a damaged unit. Stand Vigil is what makes Trajann's 12 attacks from Moment Shackle much more reliable. He is only Strength 10, reroll wounds if we're on objective we control, really helps into targets above Toughness 10. We do have to be on objective we control, or it is only reroll wounds of 1. Get this unit on objective to boost their damage potential. Trajann with the Custodian Guard seems to be almost as common as Trajann with the Wardens. The other ability, Sentinel Storm, shoot twice once per game, is usually a nice little bonus. The Guardian Spears are 2 shots, Strength 4, AP 1, Damage 2. The damage is nice, the Strength and AP not so much. Trajann does have his Eagle Scream, 2 shots, Strength 5, AP 2, Damage 3. Shooting those twice is a nice bonus until we add the Lines of the Emperor Detachment rule against all odds for +1 to hit and +1 to the wound. Now these are an actual threat, wounding Space Marines on a 3+ with our Guardian Spears and a 2+ with Trajann's Eagle Scream. Let's move on to the Lines of the Emperor rules and see what they can do to power up Trajann with his unit. First off, we have the Adeptus Custodes Army rule Martial Kata, which Trajann Valoris will have access to. Sustain hits 1 or lethal hits can make a difference with Trajann Valoris, especially when he's using his Moment Shackle for those 12 attacks. Sometimes you can even get more than 12 attacks or get a pile of lethal hits. On to the Lines of the Emperor, the Detachment rule is against all odds. Each time Adeptus Custodes unit from your army, excluding vehicles, makes an attack, if there's no other friendly units within 6 inches of that unit, add 1 to the hit roll and add 1 to the wound roll. A great detachment rule for either of these units, Trajann with the Guard or Trajann with the Wardens, +1 to hit and wound in the shooting or the fight phase. In the fight phase, +1 to hit and +1 to wound on the Guardian Spears and Trajann's Axe has us wounding Big Knights and other high toughness targets on a 4+. The Watcher's Axe will be wounding anything toughness 9 and under on a 2+. Moment Shackle attached to the Custodian Guard is very scary in the Lines of the Emperor. Strength 4 to 5 range profiles, the shooting is much better with +1 to the wound. The Wardens hit way harder in this detachment. The Shield Host detachment is close though. Next up is the stratagems in the Lines of the Emperor that make taking Trajann Valoris in a competitive list a popular choice. First up is Defiant to the Last. This will give Trajann Valoris himself a 2+ fight on death, then the Wardens or the Custodian Guard a 4+ fight on death. We can pull some fun things with this stratagem in Moment Shackle. The Custodian Guard or Wardens will fight on a 4+, a 50% chance. Trajann will fight on death on a 2+. If Trajann's unit is dead and he gets charged but he's low on wounds, we could use Moment Shackle for the 2+ invulnerable. Maybe he will live. If it is looking like the Captain General will go down, even with that 2+ invulnerable, why not select the 12 attacks with Moment Shackle and then use 1 CP for fight on death. Roll a 2+, if we get lucky, he takes out the attacking unit with him. Charging into Trajann is a wild ride in the Lines of the Emperor. Defiant to the Last gives the unit a way to deal with fights first. Not our first option, but it is something we can do. If a high threat unit does charge Trajann with the Wardens or Guard, 1 CP to hopefully take the unit with us in death is worth it. Not the reason we bring Trajann, but he does have his tricks with fight on death and Moment Shackle. Next up is Gilded Champion for 1 CP. Any phase just after Adeptus Custodes character model from your army has used an ability on its datasheet that states it can only be used once per battle, so Trajann and his Moment Shackle. Your model can use that once per battle ability 1 additional time during the battle, but not in the same phase. Restrictions: you cannot use this stratagem on the same Adeptus Custodes character model more than once per battle. The number one reason we see Trajann so much in the lines of the Emperor is this one stratagem. The other rules do help buff him and his unit. If it was not for this stratagem, no Tray. Being able to reset Moment Shackle has given the Captain General new life. It can't be used in the same phase it was used in. We cannot use Moment Shackle for the 2+ Invulnerable, then use Gilded Champion to reset Moment Shackle, and then swing with 12 attacks on our activation. It is still a very powerful stratagem when used right. The next stratagem for 1 CP is Maneuver and Fire, our fallback shoot and charge stratagem. Fallback shoot and charge is amazing on this unit. It allows us to fall back from ongoing combat, charge back in or in a different unit for fights first. The fallback and shoot part usually does not matter as much as fallback and charge. In lines of the Emperor, Guardian Spears and Watcher's Axe shooting with +1 to hit and wound is a real threat. Fall back and shoot something to pieces, then charge back in to blend up some enemy models in the fight phase. Trajann with the Wardens love this stratagem. Wait until we are charged by a big bad melee unit, pop the 4+ Feel No Pain to tank the attacks. We could use Defiant to the last as well if we have lots of CP. If we do lose a unit, we might be able to fight on death and take some of that enemy unit with us. We survive that attack with our 4+ Feel No Pain and possibly the -1 to the wound roll. We hit back, maybe even taking the unit out. If not, we can use Maneuver and Fire to fall back, shoot, and charge. We have more than one stratagem in the lines of the Emperor to make sure Tray gets his attacks. The last stratagem I want to mention is Swift as the Eagle. For 1 CP, after Trajann's unit has shot, we can make a normal move up to D6 inches. Trajann with the Wardens of the Guard is a unit well worth using the 1 CP on a D6 normal move. The D6 does make it a bit unreliable. Best used when a low roll will achieve what we are trying to do. Move out of line of sight, extend to charge, or even move closer to a unit that has been pre-measured for Trajann's unit to not be able to charge in our turn. Our Trajann and Wardens or Guard unit can only move 6 inches and they need 12-inch maximum charge, so that is 18 inches, so maybe the enemy pre-measured 19 inches away. We use this stratagem, we move a bit closer, so now that charge might be successful in our turn. Like I always say, do not use this with the if I roll a 6 mindset, plan for a low roll. I threw in a few basic tips and tricks for Trajann Valoris and his unit. Our first one is Rapid Ingress from 1 CP. This stratagem is what we can use to deploy Trajann with the Custodian Guard or the Wardens. Rapid Ingress allows us to all but guarantee we make it into combat with something. It will keep the opponent on their toes. Nobody wants Trajann to rapid ingress into their most important units. If we do have Trajann with the Custodian Guard, throw that unit into strategic reserves to have a nice deep strike threat in your army. Next up is Heroic Intervention for 1 CP. Heroic Intervention combined with Moment Shackle's 12 attacks is one heck of a counterplay to an enemy charge. Heroic Intervention can help get this unit into combat, possibly taking out a unit the opponent did not plan on losing that turn. The opponents will try their best not to charge our friendly units that are within 6 inches of Trajann, especially if he still has his Moment Shackle available. Once again, we have Don't Forget to Shoot. I too have forgot to use the shooting for my units and other detachments. Do not make this mistake in Lions. +1 to hit and wound on our shooting turns us into a real shooting threat. The Trajann and Guard unit can even shoot twice, get them on an objective outside of 6 inches of a friendly unit. The unit will shoot with +1 to hit and wound as well as reroll wounds. The ability to just shoot a move block to death instead of charging it, exposing our units to the enemy, is another reason why Lions is so good. Another tip is for Moment Shackle. The thing to remember is most of the time, Moment Shackle does not need to be used every combat phase. Trajann has 6 attacks himself along with his unit. The army rule adds sustain hits 1 or lethal hits. The unit hits hard even without Moment Shackle. Save it when we actually need those extra 6 attacks. Use it for a tough, dangerous enemy unit or a unit we need to die now. Moment Shackle should be used when we need it, not because we can use it twice per game. Those were some quick tips and tricks for Trajann Valoris and his unit. Let's move on to some final thoughts. We will finish the video with some final thoughts. I hope this quick video has shown why Trajann, aka Tray, has being used so much in the lines of the Emperor. It also sadly shows why he is not being used in any of our other detachments. He can work in the Shield Host detachment, but we are better off with a Blade Champion. Being able to easily reset Moment Shackle is the main reason we see Trajann. Fight on Death, Fallback and Charge, and +1 to the hit and +1 to the wound are all an extra bonus. Have you been using Trajann in your Lines of the Emperor list, and how have you been doing in your games? Subscribe for battle reports, list videos, and other Warhammer 40K content. Channel members gain early access to videos, as well as access to the channel Discord. Like always, thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by.